of the Onside Kick. Ricky Widmer here along with Mark Weber.
How's it going?
And I keep saying for the so-and-so week, Dave Oster's not here. Mark, I've lost count. He's not here yet again.
It's a lot. I think he's on sabbatical. Or, to make another comparison, because we love comparing Dave to the best figures in sports.
Last week we compared him to Derrick Rose.
And now we're going to step it up a notch. All right, we're going from Derrick Rose. We're going to take it up to the next level. Dave is kind of like Tim Tebow. We put him on the roster, but we got no intention of letting him see the field.
I don't know whether to feel more sorry for Tim Tebow or Dave in that comparison.
Well, one of them's making millions.
Well, what we're going to talk about in today's show, we're going to have a mostly football-packed show. Sadly, because Mark wants to talk about him, we will talk a little bit about Tim Tebow.
We're going to talk about Tim Tebow for at least 2 hours.
It won't be anywhere near 2 hours. But we're going to talk the Bears, their off-season moves that they have done this week. We'll talk about Victor Cruz and the New York Jets. Yes, we will mention Tim Tebow because Mark wants to. And then we'll also talk about the NBA Finals and maybe some baseball, some hockey thrown in. But Mark, you actually did a video on the Onside Kick YouTube this week about two of the moves that the Bears did. They released Evan Rodriguez, and they trade Gabe Carimi to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 6th-round pick. Not taking anything away from your video, but overall, if you had to pick one of these losses, I'm going to say, which one is better for the Bears, getting rid of Carimi or releasing Rodriguez?
I would say getting rid of Carimi. We kind of addressed issues with, in the draft as well as in free agency on the offensive line. We don't really have anything going on in the fullback department right now. And I still think that Evan Rodriguez would have been a great fit for Trestman's system. He's a speedy guy with good hands. Not great hands, but he's got good hands. And I think he would have been great to just have as another option to possibly throw the ball to. Now we don't have that. We're going to have that kind of prototypical fullback who's going to help Matt Forte. And also kind of maybe, protect Jay Cutler a little bit.
See, when I immediately saw that Gabe Carimi was traded, I looked at my phone. It was an ESPN update. And I thought to myself, really, a 6th-round pick? A 6th-round pick is all you're willing to get?
That's all you're going to get. You're not going to get anything for Gabe Carimi.
That part didn't go into my head. The only thing running through my head was 1st-round draft pick, you're getting a 6th-round pick. How does that make sense?
And that's a steal for the Bears. Really, I think that it's funny, a lot of people were kind of saying, maybe you should have just waited, let him play in the preseason. Maybe he does better. Maybe you get something out of him. Honestly, if we waited till after the preseason, you're going to be lucky to get a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, I did hear that too, that there were some sources saying, oh, well, maybe let him play in the preseason. But, it goes back to when you even mentioned it, he was on the outside looking in already. The Bears have made so many moves, free agency and draft, one of them being, your offensive guard that you selected with your overall pick, Kyle Long. You kind of have made these moves, bringing in free agents, bringing in a draft pick to where Gabe Carimi, and I feel like I can't speak for the man because I don't know him personally, but part of me feels like one of the reasons why he didn't want to do the voluntary workouts is because he felt like, well, I feel like I'm not needed anymore.
Yeah, I think there was definitely kind of him getting run out. He lost that job on the left side just last year. And then he was kind of getting moved to right guard, so he's not surprised, with Bushrod getting in there and stuff. He's like, okay, that's fine. But then on the draft, the Bears go and they take Kyle Long.
Almost the same position where they took him, mid-20s.
So then he's sitting there and going, wait a minute, I thought I was going to be right guard now. I thought this was my new job. Now what? So I think he definitely had that attitude of, you guys don't want me, so I don't want to play for you. I'll play somewhere else. And that's kind of the wrong attitude to have, obviously, because you're not going to stand a chance if you don't show up to practice.
Well, the one thing I keep thinking is, with Tampa Bay, why do you even want Gabe Carimi? I don't know what Tampa's going to do. I'm not a Buccaneers fan, but part of me feels like if you're trading a 6th-rounder for Gabe Carimi, I don't think he's going to start in Tampa. I think Karimi's basically going to be filler. If an injury goes down, he'll play, but other than that, it's going to be like, okay, you're just depth on the roster.
Which, I mean, really, that's the same kind of thing you would get with a 6th-round pick. For the most part, you're looking for that kind of guy to fill in and be some depth play. So I guess it kind of makes sense. Apparently, they really want to protect Josh Freeman. You know, I think it's kind of an issue of they want to give no excuse to Josh Freeman. This is your year. You got to get it done. Get us to the playoffs finally. You know, it's been too long since we've been in the playoffs. That's the only thing I can understand, but you're not really going to get much out of a backup right guard.
How much do you think he plays in Tampa this year?
Might play a game.
You think only one game?
I think someone might get hurt, and maybe he'll get to play as a starter. You know, he might play as a starter one game. He might have some fill-in every once in a while.
I don't know. I think that, Tampa should use him because, can he play? Yes. It's just, to me, I feel like with Carimi and the Bears, it was like a bad soap opera that nobody liked to watch, where it was like, it was one of those ones where it wasn't really a juicy soap opera. It was like one of those soap operas where it was like written by kids for kids.
I just think that it's kind of it was a poor situation in Chicago for Carimi because obviously he's a Jerry Angelo pick. He was the last first-round Jerry Angelo pick.
So because of that, Phil Emery comes in. He already feels like, okay, I feel like I'm not wanted. Then Mark Trestman comes in, and Emery and Trestman have hit it off. Maybe Gabe Carimi was feeling more and more like, you know what? I don't feel like I belong here.
Exactly. And it's completely understandable to feel that way. Not understandable to not show up to practice. You got to come to practice, even if it's voluntary.
You think he should have came to the voluntary workouts?
You're letting... Basically, his competition was Kyle Long. So he's going to let Kyle Long get in there and learn the new system. Get familiar with the new coaches. While he's sitting at home, everybody's thinking, hey, where's Gabe today? Oh, he's sitting at home still. You know, it's just a bad impression. You know, no one's going to be happy about that. You're not going to know everything that Kyle Long knows about the offense, that he knows about the system. You know, Jay Cutler, the quarterback, he's happy with Kyle Long protecting him. He likes Kyle Long up there. He doesn't know anything about Gabe Carimi, nothing new. He knows that Gabe Carimi let him get hit a bunch of times before.
Do you think Carimi would have... Is it also maybe Trestman saying, hey, you know what? This guy, this Gabe Carimi guy, I don't think he's going to fit in my offensive system.
It definitely could be, because the one thing we know about Kyle Long coming out of Oregon, it's a fast team. And that's a big thing that we've been talking about in OTAs and everything. We're making the Bears offense move faster. You know, Jay's got to get those throws out faster. The offense has to move. You know, they got to get ready for those plays quickly. And Kyle Long's a guy who's used to that. He can do that.
Well, moving on, the other departure, we'll dip into it a little bit, Evan Rodriguez. And my first thought, because I'm a Vikings fan, my first thought didn't have anything to do with Evan Rodriguez. It came to the point where it's a fullback. Do teams really use fullbacks anymore? The last fullback I remember being a big star was Mike Allstott for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There was that little bit where Peyton Hillis was a fullback, and that was nice. Everyone liked that.
I guess, because he's huge, but the last known fullback I know is Allstott.
Well, I mean, right now, you know, you got a guy like Leach, who's getting out of Baltimore right now, and he's going to be a good commodity. He's a guy you want. It's not, you know, if a team goes out and gets him, it's not going to be the sexy thing that fans are going to be thrilled about, but it's definitely going to be a big benefit for your team. I think that Evan Rodriguez had the potential to be a similar kind of thing. He's obviously a completely different player. He's going to be your H-back kind of guy who's going to basically come out and get a catch. He's going to basically be your check down a lot of the times. And so to have the ability to have check down Forte and check down Evan Rodriguez, that's huge. That's insane to have both those guys who can both do great things with the ball, both have good hands. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out. We never saw much out of Evan Rodriguez. in our system last year. Of course, Mike Tice, it's kind of we're giving him the benefit of the doubt in calling that a system. It really wasn't. But anyways, to have Evan Rodriguez not show anything there and then have 2 instances where he gets in trouble, it's just not worth it.
Well, and I mean, the Bears also picked up 3 free agents. One of them is former Bear Devin Aromashodu, but one of them, veteran fullback Tony Fiametta. So, I mean, the Bears probably won't. We're not going to go into speculation about the Bears aren't going to be going after Vonta Leach. But, I mean, Tony Fiametta, not a huge name, especially for me. But, I mean, he could be a filler for Evan Rodriguez, and maybe he won't have any DUIs.
Yeah, it would definitely be a big benefit to get a guy who doesn't get into trouble twice, especially once after being reminded, clean up your act or you're gone, essentially. But yeah, this is going to be good. It's going to be a good, I don't necessarily want to say a filler role because maybe he will stick around. But essentially, this is just a guy to help out Jay and to help out Matt Forte. Basically, he's going to be the blocker. He's not going to be catching that many passes out of the backfield. Although I guess they could use it as a surprise as well because he definitely is not known for, having great hands. He's known as being your blocker and kind of running and helping out, your running back. That's what he's going to do.
Well, and I mentioned it. I'm just going to go right into it because I was thinking, should I ask Mark? Should I not ask Mark? But the Bears also, with Fiametta, like I mentioned, Devin Aromashodu, and they also pick up wide receiver Gerald Jackson. And me and you, Mark, even though I'm a Vikings fan, you're a Bears fan, we should both feel fairly comfortable with Devin Aromashodu. I mean, he did play for the Bears for 2 years and then the Vikings for 2 years.
Yeah, Aromashodu is an interesting guy because, he definitely shows up at times.
Great name, too. Aromashodu.
Yeah, I still remember the first game that he really kind of had as his standout game in Chicago, where the announcer, on air, went out and said, I saw his name on the list of names, and I thought, I'm not going to need to say him. I'm not going to bother. And it's such a fun name to say. So go ahead, everybody take a moment and say it with me. Aromashodu.
Aromashodu.
But yeah, he's a great... Well, no, he's not great. He's a good wide receiver. He's going to be a good option for, that number 4 spot, basically. You're not going to ask that much out of him. Jay Cutler is at least slightly familiar with him, so Jay will be happy with him. And once Jay's happy, Chicago's happy.
Well, and that's the biggest point to me is that, I mean... the Bears bring in someone, even if it was Emery, if it was Tressman that might have said something about it, they bring in somebody that is familiar with Jay Cutler. Because Cutler's been in Chicago since 2009. And, hey, look at that. Aromashodu was with the Bears in 2009, 2010. What a coinkydink.
Yep, he was a solid option. He was a guy who went and played better than he, would be known for playing when he had the opportunity. So that's going to be a good thing to have. Definitely he's going to be a good guy to be in there. And in case, maybe Bennett gets hurt or something. Bennett, of course, not our tight end, Martellus Bennett, but Earl Bennett, Mr. Reliable. If he gets hurt, Aromashodu can step right into that 3rd spot, and I think it'll be a big help because right now we got Jeffrey, we got Marshall, we got our 2 main guys. We need a really good 3rd, 4th option to really round out this offense and compete with offenses such as Green Bay and even, Matthew Stafford and Megatron sometimes.
See, and I mean, the one thing that this speaks out to me, and even though he didn't do this with the Bears, I feel like Chicago Bear fans have something to feel not proud about, but they should feel like good things will come this season from Devin Aromashodu because not only do we mention that he's got that kind of relationship already with Jay Cutler, but look at what he did in 2011 with the Minnesota Vikings with a quarterback he knew nothing about. It was Christian Ponder's first season with the Minnesota Vikings, goes out there, 26 receptions, 84 targets, 468 yards, only had one touchdown. But he's that receiver where, is he going to be your touchdown guy? No. The most touchdowns he had was in 2009 with the Bears, and that was 4 in a season. But he's a guy that can go out there and get yards if you put the ball in his hands.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be a good option to have. And especially, I mean, you got to think about what the Bears have right now. We got Jeffrey, we got Marshall, we got both our Bennett's, really. But I'm especially going to focus on Martellus Bennett, our tight end. Then you got Forte. Maybe you put Aromashodu in there, put him in a slot or something, and just kind of let him go under, Because you got the two big guys on the ends who are going to draw a lot of attention. And Martellus Bennett, also a very well-known tight end, he's going to draw attention as well. Aromashodu, he's going to be able to fall under. People are going to kind of underestimate him. And it's pretty much the same thing with Earl Bennett. Earl Bennett will be in a similar situation. It's just a matter of, is Earl Bennett going to be able to come back after a lack of production last season? Or will Aromashodu prove himself in the preseason and take his job?
Well, not even that. The one name that we didn't mention, out of the two receivers that the Bears pick up, it's not often that I get to say a name that is in the NFL that I am actually older than. Kind of makes me feel old, but Jarrell Jackson, he was a rookie last season with Jacksonville. Didn't do anything. Played a little defense, even though he's listed as a wide receiver. Is this just a kind of chump change kind of pickup, or are the Bears actually going to use Jackson?
I think this is a special teamer, if anything. I think if he does anything, he's just going to be filled in on the special team unit. Maybe he makes a name for himself, a special team name. But if not, no biggie. We'll cut him.
And last free agent I want to bring up, 1-year deal. Bears get former New Orleans Saint defensive tackle Sedrick Ellis, and I don't know. To me, out of all the free agent pickups this week for the Bears, this is your most important one, even over Devin Aromashodu, because it helps that defense. I'm going to say it's going to help that defense get back to form.
Definitely. I think this is a great pickup for the Bears. He was a first-rounder when he was drafted, 7th overall by the New Orleans Saints, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ricky, but I'm pretty sure the New Orleans Saints are known for defense.
Well, I mean, depends on what you mean known for defense.
Do you mean
a good defense, or do you mean a bounty scandal?
Hey, they kicked some ass. That's all that matters when he's on my team. But yeah, I think he's going to be that guy, maybe not to be your starter, but to kind of change a pace and definitely kind of get those guys frazzled up front. With Julius Peppers, you got Shea McClellan is that guy who can get to a quarterback. I think that this is going to be good because he guy's 307 pounds.
Yeah.
He's a monster. He's a big guy. I definitely think that this is, like I said, maybe not your starter, but he's that guy who will come in and just wreak havoc on the front and let a guy like Julius Peppers get to the quarterback.
Maybe not like you said, maybe not your starters, but there's two things that kind of speaks to me when I look at Sedrick Ellis. How much did you say he weighs?
307 pounds.
First thing I think of is, okay, look at the NFC North. How many run right up the middle teams do we have in the NFC North? Maybe one if you count Adrian Peterson, because that's the Vikings are the only team that have a strong running attack, I would say, in the NFC North. Put him in if Adrian Peterson's going to try to bump it up the middle, but he can easily bump it to the outside. I see Sedrick Ellis being that guy where it's like, oh, okay, we're playing this team, maybe if it's a runner like LeGarrette Blount, where it's a ground and pound right up the middle guy. Trustman, okay, put him in, plug up that hole in the middle. I don't want him getting throws. Also, he had 12.5 sacks. If there's one thing that you need in the NFC North, you got to get after Christian Ponder. You got to get after Aaron Rodgers. You don't really have to get after Matthew Stafford because he'll just injure his shoulder by himself. But, I mean, in the NFC North, you got to get after the quarterback.
Definitely, and I think a big thing too, when you got a big guy like this, obviously you want those big defensive tackles that you're going to need a guard and a center to block. You can't just put one guy on it. Because I think this is the big thing about the defensive line for the Bears. How many guys are you going to double? You're going to double Julius Peppers? You're going to double Ellis? You're going to double Shea? You know, there's just too much. Of course, I don't think many teams really tried to double Shea McClellan, but still.
Yeah, but they might this year.
They might have to because you're going to have 4 guys dedicated on one side, and then you got a speed rusher who can just come right in and get to your quarterback.
And I'm telling you, there are going to be lapses this year where opposing offensive lines are going to be confused, and in that confusion, I wouldn't be surprised if sometimes you see single coverage on the outside with Peppers, and he gets right into the quarterback.
Definitely, and that's exactly what the Bears want. That's what you get a guy like this for, to eat up some attention and let Julius Peppers do what he does best.
Well, now to move away from the city of Chicago, kind of move into the NFL as a whole. One of the biggest news coming out of New York this week. We talked about wide receivers in Chicago. Let's talk about some wide receivers in New York with the New York Giants. Victor Cruz signing his 1-year tender worth $2.879 million. And they say that both sides are still working on a contract. But to me, as if I'm a Giants fan out there, I'm going, okay, he's on my team again. But at the same time, I'm still panicked because I'm a little bit nervous if he's going to re-sign with the Giants.
Well, I think an issue is he going to perform well this year?
Yes.
I mean, he performed well just last season.
Yes,
but
I think he will.
It wasn't the same kind of breakout as before.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen in the past what players can do on a contract here. Joe Flacco.
Yeah, that's definitely a big benefit, but I think an issue here will be, are you going to prove yourself? And that's what this 1-year deal, it's we're still working on it, but you know what? Let's just get you this kind of deal right now so we can work on it later, and we'll just focus on, we'll focus on the field. No, that's all right, prove it again. You didn't do it last season, so prove it now.
I think that, Dave has said this in the past whenever you hear Dave talk about football. Football is a win-now sport, and I feel like if you're the New York Giants, you're not waiting until the season to see if he's going to perform. You're trying to lock him up now because there's going to be a team, let's say after this season, he hits free agency, there will be a team that says, we need a receiver. With him, we can win right now. We might see a Mike Wallace situation if they don't get a deal done ASAP.
It's possible. He's already said that he wants to stay in New York.
Yeah, but is that what he really means, or is that him just trying to say the right thing?
It's possible. I also think, though, are you going to leave Eli Manning? Where are you going to go that you're going to have a better quarterback than Eli Manning?
You're telling me there's not teams out there that would take a stab at Victor Cruz?
Oh, there's plenty of teams that'll go for Victor Cruz, but Victor Cruz, what's the motivation to leave Eli Manning? Unless you're going to go play with Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers.
You want to know why I leave Eli Manning? Money. That is why. If the Giants aren't going to cough up the cash, GTFO. And the Giants, they're even in they're between a rock and a hard place because not only is Cruz looking for a big deal, you got Hakeem Nicks. He's an unrestricted free agent after this year.
You got to pick them both? Or do you have to go for just one of them?
I say go try to get both, but you can't lose both of them. You got to get at least one of them.
Definitely. You need one of them. Obviously, you'd rather have both of them. It's a tough choice, though. I'm trying to think of who I would rather have. I think
Knicks.
I would rather...
He's more consistent.
I think I was going to go with Victor Cruz for the fact that he's more explosive.
The explosiveness is nice. I feel like Hakeem Nicks has been more consistent over the years than Victor Cruz has.
He has been more consistent. There's no doubt about that. I don't know. It's kind of, do you want that consistency or do you want the opportunity to have the big play. And I think a lot of NFL teams like the big play.
And I know I'm looking at the stats right now, and Cruz has had 2 1,000-yard seasons. He's had 19 touchdowns in 2 seasons. He's been there a little bit longer. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was injured this past season. That's why he didn't get 1,000 yards. But before that, 2 1,000-yard seasons. He has 27 touchdowns in his 4 years with the Giants. And I feel like the only thing that hurts Knicks in this is that people might see, oh, well, Cruz has been there less, so he'll be there longer. Well, Cruz is 1 year older than Knicks. He's 26.
He is an older player, but not necessarily. I wouldn't really say that either one of them is more of a veteran than the other, though. So you're not gaining anything like that. It's an interesting situation for the Giants to be in. I mean, both guys have been there when you've won Super Bowl, so you really have no advantage over one or the other. If you have to choose one, it's just a question.
If you have to choose, take the cheaper one. Which I feel, top of my head, I feel like that'd be Knicks.
I think that Hakeem Nicks will ask for less than Victor Cruz will, definitely.
Because of what you said. What is Victor Cruz? Why would you take him?
He's going to get that explosive offensive production.
He's going to take the ball deep, take the top off the defense.
Exactly, which is what you need in this kind of NFL. You need a guy to do that, which is why I think you're going to want Victor Cruz.
Well, moving over to our last football topic. There's actually 2 of them, but they surround one team. The first one, Mark, because you wanted to talk about it so much, I'll let you introduce it.
The first and best one, Tim Tebow. He's going to continue playing in the NFL. He has another opportunity. He's going to play with the Patriots.
My question I just want to ask the New England Patriots is why?
And I'll tell you why.
Why?
Robert Kraft picked up Tim Tebow because, they usually only go with 2 quarterbacks, but maybe we'll go with 3 this time. Why not? We will, we'll see. But essentially, he kind of alluded to the fact, this Robert Kraft alluded to the fact that they picked up Tim Tebow because they think he's a good guy. And they think he's a good Christian.
But he's a horrible quarterback.
But they think he's a good guy, and they think that he's the right attitude for the New England Patriots.
Do good guys win championships?
Tim Tebow wins championships.
No, he
maybe.
doesn't win championships. How many Super Bowls does Tim Tebow have?
I'm pretty sure he's got a few.
He's got a goose egg. That's what he has. Tim Tebow, this is the only way, and I am now rooting for the Patriots to never win the Super Bowl as long as he's on the team, because you know what's going to happen? People are going to make the same. I think of Darko Milicic, and the reason being is if he gets a Super Bowl, people are going to be like, oh, Tim Tebow has a Super Bowl. He didn't do anything. He's not going to do anything to win a Super Bowl.
You know what Tim Tebow does, though? He motivates that team to be real winners.
Your team needs motivation when you have Tom Brady as your quarterback.
When was the last time Tom Brady won a Super Bowl?
Tom Brady's Tom Brady.
Tom Brady wearing his Uggs. He needs somebody like Tim Tebow to get into that roster and really be the leader of that team.
You're just trying to piss me off, aren't you? You're just trying to piss me off because I can't stand Tim Tebow. I can't stand I feel like there's got to be a dark side to Tim Tebow.
Here's the thing about the Patriots getting Tim Tebow. They know
it does nothing for the team.
They know that the last 2 times they've been to the Super Bowl, they've lost. They are sitting there thinking,
he's not going to do anything to help them.
Belichick and Robert Kraft sitting there. Robert Kraft 1 Super Bowl ring short because Vladimir Putin stole it. He's sitting there thinking, what can we do to heal this team to get us back to the promised land? And that's the one man who can go, touch and you shall be healed, Tim Tebow.
I don't know which one of those comments to attack first, so I'll attack none of them and just say that the only thing I can think of to why why you would pick up Tim Tebow is because he knows the Jets inside and out now from being on the bench.
Does he, though?
But
does he actually know anything about that
But at the
offense?
same time, do you really need to know anything about the Jets more so than that they'll just butt fumble their way to victory?
I think you need somebody there to kind of be like, is Mark Sanchez a good quarterback? And then Tim can go, oh, wait, I got this one. No, he's not.
I'm just moving on because I can't talk about Tim Tebow anymore. Rob Gronkowski, another New England Patriots story, set to have back surgery on Tuesday. And I don't know, this Gronkowski saga, the first thing I thought of when they said he's going to have surgery on Tuesday in Los Angeles, first thing I thought of, well, I'm not drafting him in fantasy.
And I have been a huge supporter of Rob Gronkowski in fantasy as he has led my team almost to the promised land.
Yeah, but the last time he had a back injury, he was out for most, if not all, the season.
Yeah. Rob Gronkowski was a guy who I had as a keeper and was so thrilled about, and then did nothing for me.
Yeah,
this past season.
I'm going to say it right now. We're going to do fantasy football stuff as draft days get closer and teams start getting that fantasy football high, but I'm going to give you my first piece of advice. Think about it as a little Father's Day present for all the dads out there. Don't draft Gronkowski in your leagues. If you have him as a keeper, you trade him.
Definitely.
Trade him for a quarterback.
Definitely get rid of him, which is an unfortunate thing to say. I will say, though, let me warn you that I also was advising against Adrian Peterson, and I traded away Adrian Peterson for last season.
Yeah, but to be honest, this is coming from a Vikings fan. Is he going to have the same season that he had last year?
Adrian Peterson? No.
He'll have a good season, but he won't have the exact one he had last year.
I think this is my thought with Rob Gronkowski. And it's getting to a point where I don't think this is that far off to say. I would not be surprised if Rob Gronkowski never wins a Super Bowl. And I mean plays in the Super Bowl.
Because he's a party boy?
He's a party boy who obviously has his priorities in the wrong situation, to where he's partying when he should be resting up and getting healed and everything. Also partying right after a loss. I have an issue with that. A Super Bowl loss, by the way. He's always getting injured. He's just because he is not. I mean, here we go. The Patriots get Tim Tebow because his attitude fits the Patriots organization. How the hell does Rob Gronkowski fit the Patriots organization? He is nothing like what the Patriots claim to be about. Of course, you can make that same argument for Tom Brady, but Rob Gronkowski does not fit the Patriots. I would not be surprised if Rob Gronkowski, he wants a new contract. Belichick and Kraft say, no, we're good.
See, and I feel like you say party boy. The first thing I think of is over to the ice hockey at the UC, number 88 Patrick Kane. But there's one thing that's different between Gronk and Kaner. Kaner knows when to party and when to put on the skates and play.
He definitely does. And obviously, I was getting a little fed up with Patrick Kane during the offseason there, and it was a long offseason. But he's a guy.
Why? He's a fun. He likes to have fun.
He does, but
let him have fun in the offseason.
See, my issue with that was with as long as the offseason was, you're hearing about it, and that's the only thing you're really hearing about the assistant, Patrick Kane, is just all his partying. And I'm sitting there thinking, if we get hockey, you're not going to be ready to play.
Oh, was he ready to play?
I was very wrong on that one. He was definitely ready to play.
So I think the moral of the story is don't listen to Mark for advice.
If you're gonna get your sports advice, apparently take the opposite of what I say when it's about whether these party boys are going to be doing well or not.
Well, now I want to kind of move things over from the NFL to the NBA. And Mark, I'm going to let you pick which story we talk about first. Do you want to talk about Jason Kidd, or do you want to talk about the possible uniting of CP3 and Dwight Howard?
I say let's get to Jason Kidd.
What are your thoughts?
I don't like it. Although I will say, if there's any sport and all the sports that you can become a player, retire, and then, just immediately after become a coach, it's the NBA. Especially as a point guard, it's something you can do. The point guard knows basketball. No doubt about it. He knows basketball. I just don't see this working out for Jason Kidd. You have a mess of a team right now that just has a bunch of money thrown into it. The money's not quite working right when it's actually on the court. You lose to the Bulls, the depleted Bulls. And this is the team that you're going to inherit. Jason Kidd thinks that he's going to be able to walk in, deal with those egos and those attitudes as a guy who's a fresh coach.
You know who will be Jason Kidd's, and this is the first thing I thought of when they said he was going to be the head coach. His biggest enemy in Brooklyn will be Darren Williams. And the reason why I say that is Jason Kidd played point guard in this league when the point guard was a different position. The point guard was a facilitator. He was a pass-first position where you had guys like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan. Were these point guards? Were these strictly point guards? No. You had your point guards where, like, the two that epitomized the point guard position, Jason Kidd and Stevie Nash. That was like the point guard that you strive to be. Now, when we look at point guards, you see Derrick Rose that drive first, attack the rim, or Russell Westbrook. And that's what Darren Williams is. He's going to try to be that attack first, that point guard that we all kind of think the NBA is right now. And Kidd's going to come in, try to change him into something he's not, and the two are going to clash heads.
Definitely. And out of that, though, Jason Kidd, I think, will win that battle. He will win that battle in the fact of Williams will be out of there before Jason Kidd is out of there.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Kidd decides to... I mean, this is a lot of speculation on my part, but I would not be surprised if we see Darren Williams traded next season.
And that would be a fantastic idea on the Brooklyn Nets' part. Although I don't know who wants that contract. That's a big contract for a guy who's not proving worth that money.
It's a big contract, but there are teams that would take it. I mean, I feel like if you didn't fit in Utah, if you couldn't bring Utah to Providence, I mean, and it's hard for me to say this because I'm an Illinois guy at heart. So, I mean, I think back to the Illinois days for Darren Williams, but part of me just feels like he's not panning out. And there are people that will disagree with me and say that he's a quality point guard. But to me, I don't feel like if you have Darren Williams on your team, you're not going to win an NBA Finals.
I can agree with that. I definitely can. I just don't, for me, I don't see it. He's not proving himself worth the money. I don't see why a team would trade for him. I don't see why a team would want him on their team right now. It's just not worth it. You're not going to get worth it. You can get a cheaper guy to do a better job and play in your system correctly. And because he's not going to play in Jason Kidd's system correctly. I mean, we don't know what Jason Kidd's system really is. We're assuming it's going to be similar to what Jason Kidd used to play. And that's not the Brooklyn Nets right now. And are they going to be able to adapt to that? Not without changes.
See, and I'm looking right here. The biggest contracts on this roster, I feel like we've harped at Darren Williams, but also another name I'm going to throw out there who actually has the biggest contract on this Brooklyn team that I think is he's a bigger waste of space than Williams. Like, Williams, I feel like, is not going to win an NBA championship in his career, but the signing of Joe Johnson, horrible for the Brooklyn Nets. And Jason Kidd, if he can work with Darren Williams, he needs to get that relationship pat because then that can be strong and then he can be working about getting Joe Johnson out of town. But one of them, Johnson or Williams, will be out of Brooklyn during this year.
It's not going to surprise me. It really won't. It's just not going to work. The attitudes, the egos, the play style, it's not going to work. And what's basically, kids got to look at one thing. Do I want to continue to be a coach here? And if you do, make those changes because that team is going to drag you down and people are going to remember that you could not handle it.
Well, and one of the things that I'm looking at right here on ESPN New York is the main reason why I'm going to call him the Russian in Brooklyn kind of said, hey, we're going to hire Jason Kidd. Kidd wants to make former Nets head coach Lawrence Frank his like head assistant. And to me, I feel like, so you're bringing in the past because you used to play for the Nets, and now you just want to bring in more of the past.
My issue with it is that you're going to bring in an old coach, a past coach of the Nets, and you're going to expect him to listen to you. You know, you're going to expect this guy to listen to you, brand new coach. You've never coached before. This is it. This is number one. It's the first time you've ever done it. And you're expecting this guy in the past to coach as an assistant on the team he used to be the head coach of. That I don't think is going to work out well for you. I hope that it doesn't happen. It doesn't come to, because I do not see a way that works out.
Well, and I mean, kind of moving away from Jason Kidd a little bit, there are still 4 coach openings, head coach vacancies, I should say, in the NBA. You've got Denver, the LA Clippers, Memphis, Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I'm not even going to touch that one because I don't know where they should go. The one thing I'm going to be interested to see is what happens with Lionel Hollins, because I feel like he should have signed with Memphis. But I mean, to me, now after Memphis let him go, if I was him, I'd sign with Denver. Either Denver or LA, but I'd pick Denver over LA.
Honestly, I think if you're any coaching candidate and you get the possibility, go to LA. I see no reason why you wouldn't go to LA.
You'd go to the Clippers, who might lose Chris Paul?
Yeah, but you got Blake Griffin up there. You can build around Blake Griffin.
Chris Paul passed the ball to Blake Griffin.
You can get somebody else to pass the ball to Blake
without
Griffin.
CP3, Blake Griffin is nothing.
I think that the whole Lob City would work with anybody.
No, it wouldn't.
It'll work with anybody.
No, it
Blake
wouldn't.
Griffin is a monster.
Have you seen the State Farm ads? Chris Paul is a passer.
Chris Paul definitely is a passer. There's other passers out there. You can get a guy to pass the ball to Blake Griffin. You can pay somebody to pay the money, or pay somebody
Cliff
to pass
Paul?
the ball.
Are they going to get Cliff Paul?
There are guys out there who are willing to sit there, pass it to Blake Griffin, and let the monster do his work.
See, I don't know. I feel like, to me, out of these 4 vacancies, the sexiest pick might be LA just because it's LA. But to me, I feel like the team that has the most potential, and yes, I'm going to say the most potential, is the Denver Nuggets, not the Memphis Grizzlies. Look at this roster. I mean, Iguodala came out this weekend and said, hey, I'm probably going to opt out of my contract. But look at what else they have. A young Ty Lawson. They have Danilo Gallinari, Kenneth Faried. They have Andre Miller, JaVale McGee. This team has youth. They can run the court. And I feel like that's the one reason why Denver got rid of George Karl this offseason. They need a coach who can handle young players.
I got a question for you with all these vacancies.
Go ahead.
Do you think there's a possibility you could get somebody to go to a team that has a vacancy with the kind of gentleman's agreement that you can get Chris Paul and you can get Dwight Howard? Do you think that's something that could work out for any coach, any team?
No. And the reason being is the only team that I feel will have the cap room, unless we see some crazy trades go on, the only team that I feel that will have the cap room to sign Chris Paul and Dwight Howard will be the Atlanta Hawks. I almost said the Atlanta Falcons, but I mean, I feel like in the end, Dwight has already said he wouldn't mind playing in Atlanta, his home city. I don't think Chris Paul will want to play there.
I don't really know why anybody would want to go play in Atlanta.
I mean, out of the 4 coaching vacancies, I don't think you can do that. I mean, the Clippers have the best shot, but why would you go after Howard when you have Blake?
Yeah, and there are rumors right now about how the Clippers might be willing to trade Blake Griffin or not necessarily for Dwight Howard, but to make room for Dwight Howard, and I think it's a horrible idea.
The one team outside of these four, and I will say this, I've said it before, if I'm the Lakers, I'm trying to make cap room to get both Howard and CP3. Could you imagine Kobe, Howard, CP3?
I think it's dangerous after seeing the mess of
LA's
big three this year.
You'd have to fire Dan Antoni. You'd have to fire him.
Yeah, without a doubt. They just need to hope that Phil Jackson comes back and says, guys, I'm back for one more.
But he never will, because he would come back, but Buss's son would never take him back. Because Buss's son is like, hey, you married my sister.
And I really think that...
You giggle a little bit whenever I say that.
I do. I think that really Kobe wants to win. You know, he wants 2 more cracks at the title.
Well, he's came out and said that next year will not be his last.
Which is good. That's great for anybody who, you know, like CP3, who might want to come to the Lakers. He's got 2 chances. It's not just a get here and let's do it.
But the thing you gotta think about with Kobe is he's making, what, $30 million next season? It's his contract year. Does he come back? I hate when ESPN asks the question, does he come back to the Lakers? He's going to come back to the Lakers. He's Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. And, I mean, the Lakers are that team where it's Kobe. Kobe is the reason your team exists.
But at the same time, we thought Michael Jordan was going to end his career in Chicago.
Yeah, but Kobe's not leaving and then coming back.
He's not going to own a team and then be like halfway through, I'm going to play for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we don't have a Bobcats Jordan.
Ugh, no.
Mark, no.
Nobody needs any of that. No. But yeah, I think to get CP3 would be a great thing for the Lakers. Pair him with Dwight and with Kobe. That's dangerous. That is extremely dangerous. Of course, you know, it's going to be interesting to see that if Kobe wants 2 more cracks and maybe only wants 2 more cracks at that final, what do you give him in that final year? Because, you know, contract year, you got to give him 1 more contract.
I feel like Kobe's the kind of player he'd take less money for a championship. If it came down to it and he was like, okay, you're going to give me Dwight Howard and CP3, I will take less money, 1-year contract, let's go.
I hope so. Because I honestly, you know, I'm a Bulls fan and everything, and I don't really care one way or another about the LA Lakers, but I would love to see Kobe.
I'd like to see Kobe win another championship over LeBron.
Oh, over LeBron, without a doubt. I mean, I would love to see that. But I just want to see, I don't care who it's over, as long as it's not the Bulls.
Yeah.
I want to see Kobe Bryant go get 1 more.
Could you imagine if the Heat stay together and you see Kobe, Howard, CP3 against the big 3, and I'm using air quotes, and Kobe just slaps him in the face and says, no, I'm going out on top. And then you know what that would be? That would be the great, I was listening this week to Fanside Tonight with John Akron, and he even said, this year we're witnessing greatness in the NBA Finals. And this will kind of segue into our NBA Finals talk, but we're witnessing greatness. We're either going to have a team that has won the Spurs, I think it was they're going for their 5th NBA title, and it would be one of the greatest duos, or trios, you could say, Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker, that we've ever seen. Or you have the Miami Heat, hate them if you must. I know I do, but they're building a dynasty. They would have 2 in 3 years.
And the fact that they've been
there 3 years in a row. So we're witnessing greatness. And to kind of link it back to my Kobe versus the big 3 in the finals, could you imagine? It would just be the biggest finale to when LeBron was in Cleveland. Everybody wanted to see who was better, Kobe, LeBron. They wanted them to get to the finals. And right before Kobe goes out, he does it and he beats them.
The only issue I have with that is I would not be able to stand everything you're going to hear about will LeBron be able to beat Kobe, You're going to hear all the comparisons.
Just don't watch
and everything.
ESPN.
Yeah, pretty much. You're going to have to avoid a lot of stuff for that.
And by the time that finals happens, you'd have the NBC Sports Network, you'd have Fox Sports 1. There's going to be so many sports networks now.
We'll see how they work out. I mean, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket there.
Yeah,
and
but
trusting they'll be able to take out the mothership.
I feel like the future for ESPN is dwindling. Someone's going to knock them off sooner or later.
I think that the Kobe and Miami Heat as current Big Three would be a fun one to watch. It really would. The one thing that would need to happen, though, if that happens, Kobe can't lose. He cannot lose that one. Any situation, really. Kobe cannot go to the finals
Kobe won't
and
lose. You want to know why? He basically, look at this season. This season was just to get into the playoffs, and he basically broke himself to get his team into the playoffs.
He's a monster. He knows what he needs to do.
Well, he just
puts
has
the
that
team
drive
on his back.
He has that drive, that intensity, where he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. I mean, he put a foot in my mouth. Because earlier in the year,
certainly did.
Earlier in the year, I made a claim that the Lakers would not make the playoffs. They did.
I knew it. I knew they would because want to know why? And you can go back, check the tapes.
Because when Kobe makes a promise, that comes true.
Exactly. When Kobe says he's going to make the playoffs, Kobe makes the playoffs.
And it's that same. I mean, think back. I mean, we mentioned it before the podcast. I mean, look at what the anniversary on Friday was for Chicago Bulls fans. MJ's final shot. It's just that kind of character that the great players have. Magic had it. Larry had it. Jordan had it. That will to win. And I mean, that's the one thing, and I'm just going to straight segue it into the NBA Finals now of this year. I don't see that with the Miami Heat because how many times have we heard on ESPN, oh, well, the Heat have come big off of a loss. Well, that can change on Father's Day, but I mean, how many times have they won 2 in a row in the last 2 series?
And I think a thing here, though, is, I just jokingly said it before, but Miami Heat, feel free to win every game after a loss because all that the Spurs need to do is win after a loss as well. And they win in 7 games. Winning after a loss is cool, but not if you're trading off all the time. I mean, Miami, I don't know, it's interesting right now because they play amazingly, then they fall off the face of the earth for a little bit. Then they play amazingly, and they fall back. So it's interesting to see, but at the same time, with Tony Parker and his hamstring issue of at any moment this could tear, we saw that when Tony Parker, we saw it in Game 4, Tony Parker blew up the world in the first half. Second half, nothing. Can't do anything. He's hurting, he's on the bench, and his team doesn't know what to do with themselves. I think that could spell disaster for the San Antonio Spurs if Tony Parker gets hurt. Let's say the game on Father's Day.
No, I don't think
he gets hurt.
No.
That could spell disaster for the team just as it did in Game 4.
I'm not going to say that because, I mean, look at Game 3. Parker only had 6 points.
Yeah, but you got monsters out there shooting record-breaking threes.
If the Spurs can catch fire from 3, which they showed they can with Danny Green lighting up 27 points and Gary Neal off the bench going 6 of 10 from beyond the arc, getting 24 points. I mean, if Tony Parker has to become a passer, he'll do it. Duncan, 12 points in that game. Kawhi Leonard, 14 points in that game. And I wouldn't be surprised if on Father's Day we see that same type of game from the Spurs. Because virtually Father's Day, the last home game for the Spurs. That is the last home game the Alamo is going to see of the San Antonio Spurs.
And they have to win it. They really do. You can't lose this one and then go back into Miami. You need to win this one. Whether Tony Parker is healthy or not, you have to win. Definitely, I'm going to be hoping he's healthy because I want the Spurs to win. I predicted the Spurs to win. I just think it's a little scary. Honestly, it is because hamstring injury, that's going to be it for you. If that does tear, you're done. You're not going to play in the finals anymore.
I'm going to compare this series to something that when we did one of our live shows that Dave Wahlberg said about the Chicago Blackhawks, and I feel like it's not the exact same situation, but it's still true here. If the Spurs come out and win on Father's Day, that will be them saying to the Heat, we're not going to lose at home. Then all they got to do is they'll win one in Miami, and if they win one in Miami, that'll be them saying, yeah, we're not going to lose at all.
And they've already proven that they can win in Miami. They can win in South Beach. They just got to go out there and do it, and they're going to have to. They have to at this point.
And also, I mean, look back to when the Big Three, their first NBA Finals against Mark Cuban, Dirk Nowitzki, and the Mavericks. It was a 2-2 series. Game 5 in Dallas, the Mavericks win. Game 6 in Miami, the Mavericks win. They're hosting the Larry O'Brien Trophy in front of the Miami fans.
And, that's a thing that Miami's going to be reminded of. They know that this is getting kind of eerily similar.
Can I take a little foreshadowing from those comments? Is that you saying that the Spurs are going to win the finals?
I want the Spurs to win the finals, and I had already predicted the Spurs to win the finals, so I'm not going to go back on that. My prediction is Spurs in 6. My only thing I want to say is that Miami is well aware of the fact that this is getting too similar.
Well, we're not going to go back to my prediction. Mine was a wee bit off.
Yeah, just a wee bit.
If my prediction was right, we'd already be talking about the recap of this season and the preview to next season.
We'd be done. But hey, Ricky, you're a Cubs fan, so not used to winning, are you?
No, I'm not.
But I think that San Antonio has the potential to do it. What they need to do is they need to get those, if you're a team that's going to light up the threes like that, you cannot possibly lose. What has to go wrong for you to lose in that situation? They need to do this, and an issue they had in Game 4 was anytime they tried to get to the board, Miami said no. Miami said, nope, you go back there and you shoot. And unfortunately for Game 4, it wasn't falling the same way as it had in Game 3. So they got to fix that because Miami's going to do the same thing. Miami's not going to let you get to the board.
See, but also in Game 4, we saw a Chris Bosh that A, we've never seen before, and B, I don't think we can see again. I don't think that performance is... He can't duplicate it. That was just a freak performance for Chris Bosh.
Do you think it's a problem that so far in the finals, LeBron's had some good games and LeBron's played great defense, but offensively, nobody's really talking that much about LeBron. Not that much. He's done okay offensively and then has kind of disappeared at the same time.
I guess it's because... I wouldn't say LeBron's disappeared. It's just he's always been there. It's because of the disappearing acts around him. Like, D. Wade had 32 points in Game 4. Chris Bosh had 20. When's the last time those two guys in the playoffs had that many points?
I think that Dwayne Wade's performance was extremely surprising, first of all. But I think that's terrifying to the Spurs. Because if Dwayne Wade's going to play like this...
Suddenly, I don't know. I mean, do you really think D. Wade can go out there and pull off that performance 2 games in a row?
I don't think he can, but you have to now be aware that look what Dwayne Wade just did. Look what Chris Bosh just did. If the rest of the Miami Heat start to kind of play up to where they should be playing, there's no way you can beat that.
Like, I'm looking at the game by game, and I want to start with Bosh. Before his 20 points, yeah, he's had double digits throughout this entire finals. But, look at his performances against Indiana. The last 4 games, 7 points, 7 points, 5 points, 9 points. It's like, lately he's been a double-double machine, but Game 4 was just a different beast for him. And that's like you got D. Wade. He hasn't had 30 points this entire playoffs. The last time he had over 20 points was the Game 7 win over Indiana.
Yeah, he has been battling the injuries, obviously, we all know.
He actually looked like Flash in Game 4.
Yep. He looked great, and I think people are going to want to see, people want to think that that's a sign of things to come.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's probably not, but obviously San Antonio, they're going to be nervous about that. You can't see what you saw to Dwayne Wade and not think, if this guy's back, what the hell are we going to do?
I mean, I trust in the spirit. I'm going to say this. I trust in the spirit of the Admiral. San Antonio fans know what I mean by that statement. The spirit of David Robinson will guide you to an NBA Finals.
Well, there's only a little bit more time left.
I'm going to agree with you. Spurs in 6.
You're coming over to the right side.
I'm coming over to the Spurs in 6 because obviously I was wrong with Spurs in 4. But that's going to do it for the Onside Kick this weekend. And I want you guys to leave your comments down below. Check out the other great shows. If you're listening to us on YouTube or on Fansided Radio, make sure you do check out Fansided Radio. Some great shows. You got the Control Room, Fire and Ice Sports. For all your Hoosier Huddle fans out there, the Indiana Hoosiers, the show is called Hoosier Huddle. And then also on fansided.com, you've got the Mothership Show, Fansided Tonight, with the host, John Akron. That's going to do it for the Onside Kick. Ricky Widmer signing off for myself and Mark Weber. Have a great Father's Day to all the dads out there. And as always, have a good day, everybody.